grand theater of the seasons, winter commands a silent stage. Life, under its icy rain, retreats. Rivers surrender to crystalline stillness. The very air sharpens with frost, and the vibrant pulse of the wild world quiets to a whisper. Beneath this enforced tranquility, an ancient pact is honored, a pact between survival and scarcity, brokered by one of nature's most profound adaptations, hibernation. We romanticize this retreat. We picture a long, untroubled sleep, a gentle pause in the rhythm of existence, a storybook slumber from which creatures emerge, rejuvenated, into the welcoming arms of spring. Like Snow White awakening with a songbird's trill, or a bear stretching languidly, ready to playfully greet the sun. Hello, and welcome to Future Tech, and today we journey past the fairy tales. The gentle awakening, the instant revitalization. It's a narrative convenient for storytelling, but it glosses over a far more complex, demanding, and often perilous reality. Waking from hibernation isn't merely opening one's eyes after a long rest. It is a physiological detonation, an internal furnace roaring to life against bone-chilling cold, a disorienting emergence into a world fraught with immediate danger, demanding Herculean effort on an empty stomach. Today, we strip away the myth and confront the often brutal, always astonishing truth of what really happens when animals wake from their deep winter torpor. The spectrum of slumber in the animal kingdom is vast and fascinating, encompassing torpor, hibernation, and brumation. To truly understand the awakening, we must first grasp the nature of the sleep. Hibernation is often used as a catch-all, but it exists on a spectrum. The most profound state is true hibernation, characterized by deep torpor. This isn't mere sleep. It's a controlled descent towards the very edge of metabolic arrest. Consider the champions of cold, the Arctic ground squirrel. Its core body temperature can plummet to an astonishing -2.9 degrees Celsius below the freezing point of water, surviving through supercooling and physiological antifreeze compounds like glycerol. Its heart may beat just once per minute. Breathing becomes imperceptible, pausing entirely for extended periods, apnea that can last over an hour. This minimizes energy expenditure to a tiny fraction of its normal metabolic rate, perhaps only 1 to 2%. Many smaller mammals like marmots, woodchucks, certain bats, and hedgehogs engage in similar deep torpor, though perhaps not quite as extreme. Their survival hinges on stretching minuscule fat reserves across months of enforced fasting. Then we have animals like bears, black bears, grizzly bears. They enter a less profound state, sometimes called winter lethargy or denning. Their body temperature drops, but only moderately, perhaps 5 to 6 degrees Celsius lower than normal. Heart rate and respiration slow considerably, but they remain capable of arousal if disturbed. Crucially, this allows mother bears to give birth and nurse cubs midwinter, an impossible feat in deep torpor. And we mustn't forget the cold-blooded world. Reptiles and amphibians like snakes, turtles, lizards, frogs, and salamanders undergo brumation. Their metabolic rate slows dramatically with falling temperatures. Wow, but they don't regulate their body temperature internally like mammals. They are largely dependent on their environment remaining above freezing, often burying themselves deep in mud or finding sheltered crevices, hibernacula. Even some birds, like hummingbirds and porwills, employ daily torpor, drastically lowering their metabolism overnight to conserve energy, a miniature version of seasonal hibernation. Across this spectrum, the common thread is energy conservation, the biological imperative to outlast the lean times. But this deep metabolic shutdown sets the stage for an equally dramatic and demanding restart. The trigger for arousal is complex, a symphony of internal cues and external stimuli. Lengthening daylight, perceived even within the darkness of a den, subtle shifts in ambient temperature, hormonal cascades linked to an internal circannual rhythm, or perhaps a critical buildup of metabolic waste products. Once initiated, it's an all-systems-go emergency procedure. The primary challenge, reheating. For a ground squirrel near freezing, or a bear significantly cooled, warming the body back to its optimal 37 degrees Celsius, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, requires a monumental energy surge. Where does this heat come from when the external world is still cold? The hero of this story is brown adipose tissue, BAT. Unlike white fat, which primarily stores energy, BAT burns energy specifically to generate heat. It's densely packed with mitochondria containing a unique protein called UCP1, Uncoupling Protein 1. This protein essentially short-circuits the normal energy production process, ATP synthesis. Instead of making cellular fuel, the mitochondria release the energy directly as heat. It's highly efficient, localized initially around vital organs, the heart, brain, lungs, kidneys, warming the core first. The metabolic rate during arousal can skyrocket, increasing 100 times or more compared to the torpid state. Oxygen consumption explodes. This is often fueled directly by the oxidation of fatty acids stored within the bat cells themselves and surrounding white fat. As the core warms, shivering thermogenesis often kicks in. The animal begins to shiver violently, using its larger skeletal muscles to generate widespread heat, accelerating the final stages of warming. But this intense activity puts enormous strain on a cardiovascular system that's been operating at minimal capacity. Simultaneously, the brain has to come back online. Specific regions controlling thermoregulation and basic functions activate first. Neurotransmitter levels readjust. Cellular repair mechanisms kick into gear to address any minor damage incurred during the long stasis. The body contends with a surge of oxidative stress, a byproduct of this rapid metabolic restart. This entire arousal process, lasting from a few hours to perhaps half a day depending on the species and body size, is extraordinarily costly. It can devour the vast majority of the energy saved during the entire hibernation period. The animal emerges physiologically spent, running on fumes. The post-hibernation period marks a critical phase for animals as they awaken from their deep slumber, facing immediate survival challenges. Emerging from hibernation, animals often appear weak and disoriented, their bodies adjusting to the sudden demand for energy. Their first task is to find food, a daunting challenge in environments where resources are still scarce. From squirrels to birds, the scramble for sustenance begins, each species employing unique strategies to survive. They've won the internal battle, warmed their bodies, restarted their systems, but they step out into a world that is often still locked in winter's final embrace. The immediate priorities are stark and non-negotiable. Hydration is paramount. After months without significant fluid intake, coupled with water loss through respiration, minimal as it was, dehydration is a critical concern. Their first act is almost always a desperate search for water. Meltwater pools clinging to the snow, precious drips from icicles, the icy edges of slowly thawing streams. This must happen before significant feeding can even begin. Then, the crippling hunger. They emerge emaciated, having potentially lost 20, 30, even 40% of their pre-hibernation body weight. Yet, the spring buffet is rarely ready. The landscape offers meager rations. They scavenge carrion, the frozen remains of animals that didn't survive the winter. They dig painstakingly through the cold earth for nutrient-poor roots, rhizomes, and tubers. They nibble on the first emerging plant buds and catkins, often tough and fibrous. They search diligently for overwintering insects, larvae, or earthworms in the slowly thawing soil. Every calorie counts, and every calorie is hard-won. Compounding the hunger is the digestive dilemma. The gut, like the rest of the body, was largely shut down. Beneficial gut bacteria populations have plummeted. Enzymes needed for digestion are at low levels. Introducing rich foods too quickly can lead to severe indigestion, diarrhea, and an inability to absorb nutrients, a potentially fatal mistake known as refeeding syndrome in extreme cases. They need time and gentler initial foods for their digestive tract to recalibrate. And for many species, the biological clock for reproduction starts ticking loudly the moment they emerge. For male marmots, groundhogs, and some squirrels, finding and competing for females becomes an overriding obsession, often taking precedence even over immediate feeding. They burn precious energy reserves on territorial disputes and elaborate courtship rituals. Timing is everything. The window for successful breeding is narrow. This post-hibernation period is a frantic balancing act, replenishing depleted reserves, restarting vital systems, finding mates to ensure the next generation, and simply staying alive until the world greens up and offers more abundance. Species spotlights, diverse strategies, universal struggle sound vary slightly with each species, maybe more aquatic sounds for frogs, more aerial for bats. Let's zoom in on some specific examples. We touched on bears. A mother grizzly emerging from her den with cubs faces immense pressure. She needs a massive influx of calories for milk production, while simultaneously teaching her naive offspring essential survival skills in a still dangerous world, all while physically depleted herself. Her foraging is dictated not just by her own urgent needs, but by where she can safely lead her vulnerable cubs. Think of colonial bats. Thousands might emerge from a single cave as the weather begins to warm. They need coordinated flight to hunt the first emerging insects, but early spring nights can still be brutally cold, severely limiting insect availability. They are also tragically susceptible to white nose syndrome, a devastating fungal disease that irritates them during their hibernation, causing them to wake more frequently, burn through their vital fat reserves prematurely, and often emerge too weak to survive the critical post-hibernation period. The queen bumblebee hibernates alone, buried underground. She emerges as the sole founder of an entire new colony. Her immediate priorities are finding enough nectar for her own energy, gathering pollen to begin laying her first eggs, and locating a suitable nesting site, often an abandoned mouse burrow, all before other competing queens claim the best resources in the newly awakening environment. The fate of her entire future colony rests on her success in these first crucial days. The iconic wood frog performs a near miracle of survival. It can endure being partially frozen solid during the harsh winter, high concentrations of glucose acting as a natural cryoprotectant within its tissues. Upon thawing with the return of warmer temperatures, their immediate and urgent priority is reaching breeding ponds, which can still be icy to mate and lay eggs. They call loudly, expending enormous energy in the process, and face significant predation from birds and snakes, also emerging and hungry. Even seemingly simple creatures, like ladybugs, often hibernate in massive aggregations for protection. Emerging en masse with the warmer weather, they must disperse quickly to find aphids, their primary food source, before their stored energy reserves are completely depleted. Each species faces a unique set of hurdles, finely tailored by their individual physiology and ecological niche, but the underlying theme of extreme vulnerability and urgent need for resources in a still challenging environment is universal. The freshly awakened world is not a welcoming committee. It is an arena where vulnerability attracts attention. Predation is perhaps the single greatest immediate threat facing these energy-depleted animals. Animals emerging from hibernation are often predictable in their timing and location. They may instinctively return to the same den sites year after year. Their scent trails are fresh and easily detectable in the thawing landscape. They are frequently sluggish and lack the stamina for sustained escape. Wolves learn to strategically time their patrols near known bear denning areas. Coyotes keenly hunt the open fields where groundhogs emerge from their burrows. Foxes target the dens of smaller, still lethargic mammals. Owls and hawks relentlessly scan the warming ground for reptiles still stiff from the cold, or rodents making their first tentative and vulnerable excursions. The unpredictable spring weather remains a formidable and often deadly foe. A sudden late blizzard can bury vital early food sources under meters of heavy snow overnight. An unexpected hard freeze can kill emerging amphibians or the first delicate insects, causing a ripple effect throughout the fragile early spring food web. And now, hibernators face newer, perhaps more insidious threats, driven by our rapidly changing climate and increasing human expansion. Winters are becoming shorter and warmer in many regions. This can dangerously disrupt the delicate and precisely timed rhythm of hibernation. False springs, periods of unseasonable warmth in the middle of winter, can tragically trigger premature arousal. Animals wake up, burning through their precious and irreplaceable energy reserves, only to be met with a devastating return of freezing temperatures and a complete lack of available food. Repeated premature arousals can be a death sentence. Conversely, delayed spring green-up due to altered weather patterns can mean that animals emerge from their winter dormancy only to find even less food available than usual, significantly increasing the risk of starvation and weakening them further. Habitat fragmentation caused by the relentless expansion of roads, agriculture, and human development makes finding suitable and undisturbed den sites increasingly difficult, and tragically forces animals to cross dangerous human-dominated landscapes in their weakened post-emergent state. Alarmingly, increased human recreation in previously undisturbed wild areas during the critical early spring period can disturb these incredibly sensitive animals at their absolute most vulnerable time, potentially forcing them to abandon crucial foraging or denning sites. The ancient and finely tuned rhythm of hibernation, perfected over countless millennia of evolution, is now being severely stressed by powerful forces that these animals have not evolved to cope with quickly enough. Their already perilous awakening is becoming an even more uncertain and dangerous gamble for survival. So, when we witness the miraculous resurgence of life each spring, let us strive to look beyond the simple, comforting narrative. Let us truly see the immense physiological battle that has been waged within the darkness, the desperate and courageous gamble for essential resources, the constant navigation of ever-present peril. The emergence from hibernation is not a passive event, but an active, incredibly costly, and profoundly courageous reclamation of life against truly formidable odds. It is a powerful testament to the enduring power of evolution, the intricate and often unseen dance between life and a challenging environment. It starkly underscores both the inherent resilience found within the wild and its ultimate fragility, especially when confronted with the rapid and unprecedented changes of our modern world. Understanding the true ordeal of this great awakening fosters a deeper sense of respect, a more profound and meaningful connection to the incredible creatures with whom we share this precious planet. Thank you for joining me on this deeper exploration into the often hidden realities of hibernation's great awakening. What aspect of this truly incredible process resonated most deeply with you? Please take a moment to share your valuable thoughts and observations in the comments section below. I genuinely value our ongoing discussions. If you found this journey into the wild informative and meaningful, a thumbs up is always greatly appreciated, and subscribing ensures you won't miss future explorations into the wonders of the natural world. Until our next encounter, stay curious and continue to explore the remarkable world around us.